as Julius Robert Oppenheimer witnessed the successful detonation of the world's first nuclear weapon. He was haunted by its implications.
I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. I suppose we all thought that one way or another.
Oppenheimer was a man of many talents. He spoke 8 languages, wrote poetry, yet he will forever be remembered as the father of the atomic bomb. The man who gave people the power to destroy themselves was haunted by his own creation. He was born in New York on April 22, 1904, the oldest son of German Jewish immigrants. His father Julius was a textile importer and his mother was a painter whose family had been in New York for generations. After attending a prestigious private school in New York City, he went to Harvard in 1922 with the intentions of becoming a chemist. However, after taking a course on thermodynamics, he developed a strong interest in physics. He faced a setback when he arrived at Harvard a year later than planned due to his health issues related to colitis, an inflammatory bowel disease. Nevertheless, he managed to graduate in 3 years instead of 4, making up for the lost time. He then went out to the University of Cambridge in England to conduct research at the Cavendish Laboratory for the experimental physics. However, he soon realized that he was not skilled in experimental work and instead excelled in the theoretical physics. The pressure of his graduate studies led him into depression, causing emotional instability. In a troubling moment, he admitted to attempting to harm his tutor by lacing an apple with harmful chemicals, but fortunately, the tutor did not eat it. Deciding to pursue theoretical physics further, Oppenheimer left Cambridge and continued his studies at the University of Göttingen in Germany, a significant center for theoretical physics in Europe. Despite his young age, he produced impressive work and earned his PhD at just 23 years old. He then returned to the United States and worked as a research fellow at Harvard and later at the California Institute of Technology, Caltech. His dedication to his studies often caused him to ignore the outside world. But the rise of fascism in Europe in the 1930s caught his attention. Oppenheimer agreed with Einstein that the German scientists could make a nuclear weapon, and when they did, Hitler was prepared to use it. America watched fearfully as the Nazis invaded Poland in 1939. In 1942, Oppenheimer was chosen to lead the Manhattan Project, a secret US Army effort to create the atomic bomb. He gathered the brightest minds in the physics and managed over 3,000 people. He picked Los Alamos, New Mexico as the main facility due to its beautiful surroundings, which he had admired during a trip as a teenager when he was recovering from illness. Washington threw a ridiculous amount of money at the project. An initial budget of $6,000 eventually ballooned into a whopping $2 billion by 1945. Before leading the Manhattan Project, Oppenheimer taught physics at Caltech and the University of California, Berkeley. He had already been researching on nuclear fission, the powerful release of energy from splitting an atom. The best element for splitting atom is uranium, the heaviest natural occurring element. A uranium atom has 92 protons and 146 neutrons, making its uranium-238. Some mined uranium, known as uranium-235, has 92 protons and only 143 neutrons, making it highly unstable and suitable for fission. When hit by a neutron, it becomes uranium-236, which then splits into 2 atoms, krypton and barium, and releases 3 more neutrons. These released neutrons collide with more uranium-235 atoms, causing a chain reaction and a massive explosion. Research also shows that the plutonium-239 would be highly fissionable. However, it's not a natural occurring element and had to be manufactured. Reactors were constructed in southeastern Washington state to manufacture plutonium. On July 16, 1945, the world witnessed a moment that would forever change its course: the Trinity test. In the desolate New Mexico desert, Oppenheimer and his team successfully detonated the world's first nuclear bomb, a momentous event that marked the beginning of the nuclear age. The Trinity test was a pivotal moment in the history. Oppenheimer himself quoted verses from the Hindu scripture, recalling the lines, quote-unquote, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of the worlds." He was acutely aware of the immense power he had unleashed.
He knew the world would not be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent.
The test's success meant an atomic bomb was ready to be used by the US military. The following month, the US military dropped 2 atomic bombs on Japan. On August 6, 1945, the most powerful weapon in the world was dropped on the Japanese city of Hiroshima. 140,000 people were killed, many vaporized. Thousands more would die in the pain in the months and years that followed from radiation poisoning. 3 days later, another bomb fell on Nagasaki, killing 74,000 people with equally devastating effects. The Japanese Emperor Hirohito decried the devastating power of quote-unquote a new and most cruel bomb. Japan surrendered 6 days later, abruptly ending the World War II. Quote-unquote, the atomic bombs dropped on the Hiroshima and the Nagasaki brought the World War II to a swift end, but at a horrific cost. The devastating consequences of these bombings raised a profound moral question and haunted Oppenheimer for the rest of his life. Oppenheimer initially expressed guilt over his creation, while he understood the geopolitical context. He also grappled with the enormous loss of life and suffering caused by these bombings. After the war, he became an important advisor on US atomic policy. He led the main advisory committee on the organization that followed the Manhattan Project, called the Atomic Energy Commission. This group was in charge of the nuclear research and developing nuclear weapons. He even had an office in the president's executive offices, which were located near the White House. Unfortunately, things turned against him when he was suspected of being a communist spy because of his past connections. In December 1953, President Dwight Eisenhower ordered that he be kept away from any secret information. Oppenheimer had a complicated relationship with Jane Tatlock, a political activist and a supporter of the left-wing causes. They had a passionate relationship and were together for several years, almost getting married, but eventually broke up. Despite this, he was still chosen to lead the Manhattan Project. However, with the start of the Cold War, he faced increased suspicion. The Soviet Union successfully tested its first nuclear weapon in 1949, earlier than America expected, and just because of this, raised doubts about Oppenheimer among the government officials. In 1954, Oppenheimer faced a closed-door tribunal by the Atomic Energy Commission due to the alleged communist affiliations. Despite denying radicalization, he lost his security clearance by a vote of 2-1. The once revered scientist faced isolation and professional setbacks. The decision to revoke Oppenheimer's clearance remains controversial to this day. It significantly hindered his ability to contribute to scientific research and left a scar on his legacy. In the latter part of his life, Oppenheimer sought solace in teaching and continued his research in theoretical physics. He remained a complex and an enigmatic figure, forever haunted by the consequences of his actions. In 1965, Oppenheimer was diagnosed with a throat cancer because he had been a very heavy smoker throughout his life. The New York Times once described him as a very thin due to his chain-smoking habit. On February 18, 1967, he passed away at his home in Princeton at the age of 62. After his death, his wife brought his ashes to the island of St. John in the United States Virgin Island, where he spent several months each year and scattered his ashes in the sea near their home, which is now known as Oppenheimer Beach. The 20th century brought about a new era where humanity's very existence was under threat. Today, this threat is even more real, with concerns about Russia possibly using nuclear weapons in Ukraine. In October, North Korea conducted missile launches that were portrayed as simulations to target South Korea. State media claimed they were trying to wipe out South Korean sites. The Doomsday Clock, a symbolic representation of the global threats, warns us that we are getting closer to endangering our world. The legacy of the father of the atomic bomb is one of brilliance, guilt, and complexities of human nature. Let us honor his memory by working towards a world where the lessons of history guide our path towards the peace and progress. So guys, if you like this video, give a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.